All right. With all that revelation behind us, let's go to. Hold on, I will elaborate to be fair in a second. But first of all, let's go use this elevator to go to the second length of this dungeon. We transition from the Soylent system to the laboratories of Krelian. Again, like I said, it's one thing to actually. It's already one monstrous thing to use population of land dwellers and potentially also your own citizens as food for the others. But the things that they do in here, you kind of make you feel sorry for these poor people that are involved in here, but did not actually went to the power plant.
So what you're saying is that these people are suffering a fate even worse than the people that Fei and Elly ate?
Arguably, yes. But let me use these to also explain something in the meantime. The previous chapter's major reference to the movie Soylent Green, which ironically enough in many countries like mine instead calls something like 2022, The Survivors, because yes, it's set in the year 2022. Maybe I should pick it at some point during this year, who knows. It's actually one of the most famous, sci-fi movies, even, from a classical age. A cautious tale about overpopulation and how we treat the planet and how society can evolve in such a disastrous way, However, Japan did not and was not very aware of the movie. So while not seen on the same level as, say, Hideo Kojima, or Swery, for example, it pretty much showcased that the team had a lot of passion and knowledge from classic sci-fi media, particularly also Western movies, and wanted to spruce it in, sometimes more directly, sometimes not. So in Japan, the reference actually works for the better because not many people knew about it. So the whole twist about Solaris using people as food, had more impact. But hold on, we're about to. Actually, if I recall correctly, we're about to actually explain something. Go ahead, Shiroi.
What's this? Memory cube data?
Oh, great! Just what I needed for my GameCube.
Is it the thing we usually use as saves?
Yeah, it was to save, actually. Yes, the information of all the people who have access to Memory Cube from all over the world is being sent here now.
Oh my god, this game is secretly online compatible.
This facility,
is...
Sorry, go on.
Is the integration control center.
What's it for? But yeah, as mentioned beforehand, yes, Solaris, there's a gameplay story integration kind of thing. Solaris uses the save. You using the save point means that Solaris gets your data. And let me warn you, at this point of the game, it's pretty hard to have managed to get to this point without saving at all. Meaning that, again, there's this kind of integration where the player realizes, oh shit. Anyway, this next room is a bit dark. So let's find the switch.
So
yeah.
Whoa! Shit. It's a mecha.
That's one big ear.
That's big.
What is this thing?
A mecha.
I mean, you've been flying on most of the game.
Well, this one is actually a bit bigger. Gear.
A Metal Gear?
I mean, Jeff, I was going to say that.
No, look. The surface of the armor isn't segmented.
Let's take it for a joyride.
It's the same as Bart's gear at
Anvari.
Anvari.
Mm-hmm.
And the gear we saw in Shavat. It's an Omni gear.
Let me guess. Fei's new gear.
Remember. But this thing is huge.
Well, that's because it's an Omni gear.
Yes, it's got to be around 3 times as powerful as our gears.
Sure,
hopefully we don't have to deal with it at any point.
It would be a shame if we actually had to fight this thing.
Nah.
So this is Solaris's...
Oh, you didn't even knew about that, Citan. Good to know.
Okay. I'll just say this. Unless Citan has a very, 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 very good reason for how he acts, If he doesn't shape up, he's going on a list by the end of this game.
Wait, what list exactly?
You know, Shiroi, that listed.
Boy, this. Okay, these people, unfortunately, are in the process of being turned into Wels. And thankfully, they're being locked in these cages for, both their own and everyone else's protection. Unfortunately, some of them are also secluded in cages which do contain also chests. It's me, the one with all the dead Kismet.
Oh my god, it's
I may
you.
look like this, but the dog's doing fine.
Well, that's a relief.
Please don't think about letting me out.
Oh.
Even though I'm still conscious, eventually I'll... So what happens if we actually free him?
He attacks us, doesn't he?
You opened it. I told you not to open it. My mind. Yeah, this is the place. Remember what Citan also said? This is also the place where they turn people into Wels. Yeah, this happens.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be if you do that, you get a non-standard game over.
Thankfully, no. You still have to fight it, of course, but and it's not like something super easy. But to be fair, the gameplay portion is that you do get a reward by picking the chest up in the cage. So it's up to you. But yeah, this is essentially an umbrella facility when you get down to it. Because
Basically,
again,
yeah.
Pretty much.
because again, I forgot what year was the first Resident Evil, or being Resident Evil 2 in this case.
5, I think?
Let me check.
Specifically Resident Evil 2 because that's the one that introduces the Umbrella Lab.
Well,
think 2 was
technically
in
there
96.
was a lab in the first Resident Evil
the
game.
official one, not the one on the Spencer Mansion.
2 came out in 1998.
Around the same
okay.
time, actually. It might be a coincidence as well, don't worry about that. Especially because Square also released the first Parasite Eve around this time that also had elements similar to Resident Evil. So there is that. 1998 for America was actually a very good year for video games.
Yes, it was. 1997. 2 golden years.
Unless you're a fan of King's
Well, the
Quest.
90s in general were basically the golden age of video games. I mean, there was more innovation and groundbreaking stuff coming out in just that one decade alone than the entirety of the rest of the medium lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally like the 3D boom in particular was starting with Mario 64. Like it was literal. We were literally getting groundbreaking game after groundbreaking game at the time.
Go ahead.
I don't know, Taylor. Remember what Citan's actual line was. So this is Solaris' Omni-Gear. So it's not so much that he doesn't know about it. Like it seems like he knows about it. It's just that so this is what it is.
It looked like at the very
Yeah.
least.
So he knows about the Omni-Gear because of course he does.
But
Also, I would rather be put in the meat grinder than this.
like I said, Shiroi, these people kind of wish that they were just being sent to die and be used as food.
Also,
and
was
again,
Elly eating that food for years without knowing what
They're at least okay. It's never specifically mentioned, but considering it's something that every Solarian eats regularly, yes, at the very least, the implication of that.
Some said neglected to mention in the last part when we found out the revelation of what they've been eating. So that's where Cloud Atlas got his inspiration from for that bit near the.
Seriously? Alright,
I
and
mean,
we got a
it might be
muscle belt.
Odds are it's a complete coincidence, but.
I mean, again, like the original reference is from a movie from like the 70s, I think. So we could have taken inspiration from that easily. Again, Soylent Green is actually very famous as a movie anyway. These other people are basically people that you do not know, but basically are the same kind of thing. They turn into some kind of Wels that you have to fight. The only major difference is that...
Wait, why did that guy turn into 4 people?
It's for the sake of having an encounter, Jova. Again, it's a slight more shrug. But... unlike in the battle on the ship with Billy, these Wels have also the tendency of using a particular attack, which essentially is like a kamikaze type of attack. Basically the Subway Man kind of thing. There you go. Yeah, it inflicts a lot of damage, but they die in the process. So you need to basically be careful in with how much damage they deal. But yeah, where was I? Right, the references. Again, like I said also at the very beginning of the game, this takes inspiration also a lot from stuff like 2001: A Space Odyssey, and will become more apparent as the game actually goes on. Again, we're about actually to start having at least some of the pieces being put together, so don't worry about that. But let me also say something, a minor trivia in the meantime. Why not? You might have wondered why Bart managed to actually get all of these story arc, kind of like in the most complete out of all of the party, non-Fei, Citan, Elly party members, you know. And that's because of Kaori Tanaka, like I mentioned, or by her more colloquially pen name Soraya Saga. That's because this trivia is something that I did not discover until very recently, actually. Her role, she actually also did work in previous Final Fantasy games, but in a slightly more direct role. Can you believe, Pedro, if I told you that she was partially a co-writer for Final Fantasy VI?
Not really, no.
Basically, everything attached to Edgar and Sabine, that's all from her, apparently. Yeah, if anything, she wrote even more material about that, but unfortunately they just couldn't put in the actual game cartridge. There were just too much story, so she did the most logical thing, and after the game got released, she actually did make a doujin called Figaro no Kekkon Tales from Desert. Again, a story compiling the backstory of Sabine and Edgar. Again, that's pretty cool. But yeah, and in this case, the figure of Bart and Sigurd are clearly a reference to that. We will become more apparent when we learn also the backstory of their ancestors, because yeah, we're actually going to learn also on that. The second name of Sigurd, which I didn't mention to this point, Hakurt, is actually also a reference to Sabine's mentor from Final Fantasy VI. So yeah, it was more of a direct reference more than anything.
Love what that lady said. I kind of feel like eating you up. Double meaning there, honey.
Yeah, that's just again. There's also there's also the fact that it's probably better to put these people out of their misery instead of actually just letting them continue that. Who knows what Krelian and the others are doing to them? Which does bring up a good question. We don't seem to. Okay, while we do encounter some of them in the actual random encounter, there don't seem to be that many guards around, don't they? That's weird. Well, maybe this is just a unvisited part of the labs.
It's a trap.
Okay, dude, if it was a trap, it probably would have sprung already, and we would have been their sweetest time.
Honestly,
I mean, they just want to give us a false sense of security.
And given the fact that according to the High Commander Science guy, that everything
Krelian.
has been going according to plan, I got a bad feeling that this is also part of that ever elusive plan of theirs.
Who knows? Yeah, again, for the time being, these Wels that you encounter do not really have any much to say. But we're gonna have a later encounter that's also another small surprise on that front. But yeah, this is also again another showcase for me to show whatever technique I didn't show up until this point. Again, grinding for them is not really that big of a deal, to be honest. Especially if you know what you're doing. It's more of a case of, mashing the combination. Believe it or not, originally I thought that you needed to input the combination of the actual, that blow skills in order to actually gain experience on that. But no, instead it's actually connected to how you spend the points that you have. And it uses a particular formula of its own. It might be complicated, but in very broad terms, if you it leads to basic experimentation. To be fair, you don't really have much combination to be trapped with, and at the end of the day, you see the numbers going up automatically on their own. So it's not really a matter of oh my god, I have to grind so much and I don't know what to press. And an eyeball we got.
Received eyeball.
Thank you. Well, at least it's not like in Final Fantasy IX, where you literally receive cancer.
Yeah.
Well, it's more out of context than anything, but yeah. But yeah, if you have, this series is mostly gameplay related. If you have another question on the other hand, and in the meantime, please go on.
The only question I have is that I get the feeling. Okay, I get the feeling Takahashi. Okay, Takahashi's starting to get to a point with Citan where he's generally starting to get to a point where I just don't understand what he think, like, because supposedly we're supposed to, you know, like Citan, right?
It's like I said, unless Citan ends up having a very, very, very good reason, so I'm waiting to see what we do with that, but, you know, unless Citan ends up having a very good reason for his actions, he's going on the list.
Well, again, you will have to see soon enough. Don't worry about that. Again, eventually, it's like a bubble. Eventually, it needs to blow up. You know, on that front. Again, what he still did in the previous part is probably his most egregious act. So I will agree if anyone actually, you know, stopped liking the character after that, because it's just, again, I really don't understand why didn't even warn them about it? Why did you have to teach them a lesson in such a crude manner?
As if it was even their fault that they were hungry, and as far as they knew, it was a perfectly good food source. So it's not even that kind of finger wagging that really makes much sense. Like, I hate to say it, he kind of pulled The Last of Us 2 there, having them do something and then shushing and shaming them for doing what was honestly insensible.
Okay, no, to be fair, it wasn't. Again, what he did was essentially presenting the facts and telling them to move afterward. He didn't really judge them on that. But the problem is, again, he still didn't warn them about. Not even a case of, are you sure it's a good idea on that front, or like that. Not even a warning. He just politely denied when he was offered. It's just like, why?
I get the
it feels like
Takahashi...
the game. It feels like the game trying to sound smart, but at some point realizing, no.
That philosophical minor waxing that he does at the end, where he ponders about, you know, if the consumption of flesh is really that big of a problem, if the society doesn't even consider those human beings to begin with. And trust me, while not on the direct level of the whole cannibalism, we'll go back on the whole what is really a human very soon, so don't worry about that. And if anything, the game will actually be more clever about that. But for this section specific, sorry, go on.
It's up there with the religion bashing, where, yes, even if it does serve a purpose here and there, the way it's presented initially just feels a little too mean-spirited.
Okay, I can tell you this, Joe, that you might have been, you know, too... not shocked, but you might have been too... not even influenced. You might have been too taken away from what happened with the ethos. So trust me, for the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. Not even in a sense of religion bashing.
Don't get me wrong. It was still problematic, though, and again, is part of the reason why a lot of people walked off of development for this game.
To be fair, Jova, it's not like it was literally inventing something. This was, if anything, this was actually around the time the scandals of the Catholic Church were actually being properly exposed. You know?
True. The problem is that it lumps the religions in there, and like, well, it feels like all religion in this game is bad. Like, I get it. Acknowledge that there are.
Okay, again, if anything, also, what the fuck?
Giant wolves?
Fetuses, a brain in a jar, a torso
of a giant, apparently.
It's more so. Okay, see, here's.
again, as I said, of absolutely, but it is dead space. But no, what I was saying is, again, if anything, again, despite being also fish, despite being, flying Nazis and everything, Solaris had the right call of, shutting down the ethos the moment they started actually feeling hubris about their own condition.
I like that, though. A room full of organs and a fish.
Also, these people are literally tested on the spot, with lasers like this.
You're about to say something, Pedro?
When it comes to the whole eating flesh thing, it's kind of like I don't think it's so much. Yeah, I'm with Teo in this instance. No, it's not so much that Citan bragged on Fei and Elly for doing it. He just explained to them what was going on and said, "Look, we have to continue because we can't just stay here." It's more so the fact that I get the feeling Takahashi was very adamant.
Hello. Hey, could you open the door? Well, it's easy. Just press on that power over there.
No, don't.
I'm not sure it's a good idea, but there are 2 treasure chests, so...
You're gonna have to fight all of them.
Turn or eat you.
Oh, what a shock.
Yeah, basically yes, Shiro, so I'm gonna speed up most of it.
You have to deal with them all, don't you?
Like I just said, yes. But like I said, since I will speed up most of the process because these fights are mostly effective except for one. Go on, Pedro.
Yeah, it hurts. I get the feeling Takahashi was very adamant about, the shock value of that revelation, and entirely focused on that, and to the point of, and that's why he has Citan not say anything, because he wanted the surprise of the revelation to be all the more impactful. The problem is, you could have done that very easily without having to, you could have easily. Here's how I would have done that scene. Instead, I would have Citan go, guys, don't eat that. I think you shouldn't eat that. Why?
Yeah,
Citan?
again, like I said, or at least a question saying, are you sure it's a good idea? Something like that. Apparently also, coincidence of all coincidence, we also find the brother of whoever became Red Drum in the sewers of Kislev.
Uh-oh.
Which means 2, powered up red drums, I forgot what they're called, at the same time with their bullshit insta-kill attack. Go on, Pedro.
Yeah, after having Citan's, I personally would, the actual line that I would use is, look, guys, you might not want to eat that. And they're like, why, Citan? I'll tell you later. And then when they get to the meat grinding thingy, that's when they say, okay, that canned food we saw earlier, and then he points with his finger. There you go, see? That would have been a much better way of, still having the necessary impact of the revelation without having... I get the feeling, okay, I don't attribute this to malice on part of Takahashi. I genuinely believe he probably didn't realize what he was doing, because the entire thing feels very tone deaf.
Another idea potential... Sorry, go on, Shiro. Sorry.
I'm just gonna say... maybe either one of those isn't particularly great, because if he actually said, oh, wait, before letting them eat it, that would immediately make them stop. They probably wouldn't have eaten it by that point and then losing the whole thing.
Yeah, I think whatever potential idea will be, give the player the option without really know it, with a yes or no question. So in a way, potentially the player ideally is just in the dark, but in this case, the game is making a statement for you, with taking away control from you for the narrative.
You find out either way, if you have the option to eat or don't.
That way probably could be a bit more powerful. Sure, you can still have Citan being an asshole like this, but that way also you're engaging still a bit more the player, and it feels more like it's on you rather than, being a scripted event.
It does sort of tie in. I do feel like the deeper we get into this game, I'm definitely seeing the good intentions behind it. But I think I'm also seeing a lot of misguided stuff. Granted, maybe it comes off as misguided due to the cut content or whatnot. Maybe content was cut that would have helped facilitate a lot of the stuff better.
And the inexperience of the team, because remember, this was Takahashi's first game.
And it does show in a lot of cases here and there. Again, I'm not going to say that this is a bad game per se. I'd say that so far I've still seen enough good stuff to consider this, at worst, an okay game.
I feel like
It is still a game though with quite a lot of problems though.
I feel like Takahashi, for his first directorial effort, he probably should have tried something a bit simpler than something as complicated as
like
this.
I said, too much ambition from the team.
Yeah.
And from what we understand, there was, and to be fair, there was also the problem that Spirits Within kind of took away from this game's development team too. Mind you, it's not an excuse, but it's a reason.
It's one of those cases where, for the first effort from his team, Takahashi probably should have tackled something a bit more simple and a lot more doable to get to gain positive influence between Square executives, so that later when he's finally given complete freedom and a big budget to do whatever he wanted, much like with what Yoshi P is now doing with 16, that's when now I can actually properly do this without anybody messing with my vision.
Don't forget, he originally wanted this to be a whole complete series of games.
These were supposed, again, I will elaborate more on the last part during the credits, but these were supposed to be not exactly the centerpiece, but close enough of an epic saga we would expand with multiple titles. And I mean, slight centerpiece in a sense, we would have gotten not just sequels to it, but prequels as well, expanding pieces that these would have just hinted about, like say the Zeboim era.
Wow, this really was supposed to be Final Fantasy VII, right down to the point that this was originally going to be the game that had its own compilation.
I can say this. Takahashi was kind of behind the time in a way, because if you actually had this kind of idea in the early 2000s, at least Square probably would have been much on board on it, because that was the time they started to actually have their Final Fantasy titles being part of a bigger scope. First the Ivalice Alliance, well, first the Final Fantasy VII compilation, the Ivalice Alliance, then the Fabula Nova Crystallis,
and don't
then
forget
the 15 Universe, and so on.
And don't forget they added on the sequels to Final Fantasy IV as well.
Well, that was more like a side project that was happening at the same time. But the point that I was getting is that most mainline titles at the time were about to actually get expansion in different cases. So if this had happened a bit later than the PS1 era, probably would have found proper success. Mind you.
Probably.
Mind you. Again, I will reserve the detail for that moment, even if most people know the story. I would say this, that for all the problems and the ambition that it had, it did one job to make Takahashi's team noticeable in a way, in a sense recognizable, because that eventually attracted the attention of someone else, which caused a chain of events, which has led him, and the others to where they are now.
And where are they now?
He is now the big.
Nintendo.
Well, yeah, he is now the big. His studio is now the JRPG studio of Nintendo.
Yeah.
And I mean, proper
and his company is carrying Nintendo's weight.
Well,
not really. Not really.
Deji, that's an interesting way of saying Koizumi and this team.
No. Monolith Soft has been helping with a good chunk of Nintendo's titles.
But to say that they've been caring, though, implies that Nintendo have been slacking in every other way. And nah. No matter how salty you are, that just ain't so.
That's not. Wait, what?
Also, before the song ends, let me just mention it. Since you might have been wondering, this is yet another high-quality rip from Siva Gardner, specifically one that at least starts with the save room from Resident Evil 2, appropriately, but incorporates some themes like stuff from Silent Hill or 28 Days Later.
Actually, that makes me wonder,
pretty cool.
Has Siva Gunner done any tunes from Xenogears?
A couple only early on. Recently, it hasn't shown up much, unfortunately.
See, here's the thing. To give an a comparative example, regardless of what you feel about Shenmue, the first Shenmue, for its time, was the most ambitious game that you could have seen up until that point. A game that was literally trying to recreate real life, where basically to the point of literally making it so that every house, every drawer, every closet can be open and you can browse the contents of everything. But by the time Yu Suzuki got around to making that game, he already had an extensive long career at Sega, where he made games like Virtua Fighter, Super Hang-On. He had a long Swift Space Harrier, a long career where he made plenty of successes, and he had plenty of experience by that point. Takahashi immediately attempting to reverse Yu Suzuki and jump straight into his Shenmue probably was not the best idea. But yeah, that's basically it.
Alright, for the time being, we're already done with finally with that room of Wels, so let's actually move forward to at least the last minor segment of the second third of the dungeon. If I recall correctly, okay, not immediately, but soon enough we'll find a room containing something particularly interesting also about this lab. Also, what the fuck is this room? Is this like a CAT scan? Weird.
What would... Look at all that timey-wimey effects.
Well, apparently in this dungeon alone, you get this encounter shift instead of the screen breaking like normally. Instead, sometimes you get this wave effect. I don't really know what causes it, but it's a thing that happens.
Yeah, I guess they wanted to surprise you.
I mean, the PS1 it was capable of really, really good graphics for its time. Like hell, even Rascal, for as shit as it was, had pretty impressive graphics for the time it came out.
I would say I do, however, prefer a game like this or Castlevania Symphony of the Night, where they recognize that they did not need to pump up the polygons and instead focus still on the sprite base, but use the advantage of having a console more powerful to just have, more stuff at the same time, and then run a beat smoother.
To be fair, I thought you were saying it in comparison to Rascal. I'd be like, yeah, no shit.
No. Okay, but, this is interesting. You need to raise this, and it produces a sound. This is important because the puzzle in this particular section is sound-based. So unfortunately, it's not really accessible for deaf people. Unfortunately. But yeah, you need to memorize the sequence of notes that are being sung by these three statues.
One of those literally looks like Genova.
Again, like I said, what it was ultimately completed after Final Fantasy VII, but it did start production before that, and I still believe that Sakaguchi took a couple of elements to actually make 7. We have seen one or two already, but some bigger ones still have to show up. And it will become more apparent once they actually do rear their head. But yeah, if I recall correctly, this... Okay, I don't know, it's not this
What even are they?
Yeah,
These giant guns?
No, they're like simulators or something. Is it like the pilot room from Darling in the Franxx, where the pilot has to literally bend over?
I don't know. But yeah, I get what you meant. Those look like giant guns that you can sit in.
Again, whatever they develop in these weird labs, it's just better not to actually know.
It seems like there might be a lot of cross-contamination between these rooms, and...
Okay,
Yeah.
come on now. Oh, we got ammos for Billy, even though he's not really here. Unfortunately, we still have to save them.
Kind of spoils the fact that we're gonna save them and they won't die.
Oh yeah, what's happening with them right now? Like...
Again, remember, guys, this entire trekking that we're doing is actually to reach the inside of a palace in order to actually save them. Although, again, this place is slightly labyrinthic. Once again, your compass is your best friend in this case, in order to actually, orient yourself.
I will say this game really seems to like the trio of Fei, Elly, and Citan the most.
That is true, but very soon also you'll be able to actually...
So basically, Takahashi has the same mindset that I have with JRPGs.
Oh, okay, to be fair, it's mostly also because... hold on. What is this?
A door.
I have no idea.
There must be a password in one of the rooms.
Hold on, Doc, let me try to apologize first. No? Okay.
Try the Konami code. That usually works.
Nope.
This Faye's the kind of guy who look at his hand and go, "What's this thing?" If you know what a fucking door is.
Doors are bullshit, though. We all know this.
Yeah, I know Square seems to be having trouble rendering those.
Hey, they fixed it. They fixed it.
Eventually. Oh, there we go.
In Quantum Break, you can get killed by the doors. So
The band or the object?
the object.
I was joking. Alright, next room. Again, like I mentioned also, you can potentially also get, not ambush, but you can get a random encounter while you're opening a door or a treasure chest.
Yeah.
But, I forgot what I was saying. Whatever. All right, the entire point. Again, the entire point is that we're actually needing to save the others from the palace. Although again, we're kind of taking our sweetest time. So for this, because unfortunately these labs are really that big.
We probably ate them earlier.
That would suck.
To be fair, no, like Java noticed, we just got ammos for Billy. It would kind of suck if we did. Then again, Tales of Zestiria keeps selling us equipment for a party member, even way after she drops out. So I don't know.
Maybe that's just the game trolling you.
GTA. It's like she was meant to be in the game more or something. Or
I really okay. I normally don't ask this; it's more Jova's, but I really wonder what happened behind the doors when it comes to Tales of the Sea, because I know for a fact that Hideo Baba is not a bad director or a programmer and everything, so I really wonder what just happened with
Hey,
that.
yes, that's theory. Isn't that the one Tales game that everyone pretty much hated when it first released?
Basically, yeah. But that's the thing. Well, first of all, he's the producer, not a director, because he stopped being when he became the head of the team. He was just producing.
He was already director on that. Let me check in the meantime. Go on.
Well, remember, he wasn't a director on either of the Zillia games or Graces, so I'm pretty confident he wasn't a director on that either. But even so, regardless of whether or not he was. No, that's the thing. Like, for as much as a lot of Tales fans like to demonize Baba, the man, it's because of that guy that series is even coming out still over here. So honestly, it's one of those cases where it's just like people like to take that one game and immediately use it to completely discredit all the good he did before that game. And keep in mind, when I say mistakes, I mean an artist making a bad product. Like, that's it. Not personal mistakes. I'm talking about like artist mistakes, not personal mistakes. Like it's this thing where like suddenly this guy makes one bad product and suddenly his entire career is now put into question. And
before anyone says, well, you guys did the same with Neil Druckmann, I'm like, well, there's more to it than that.
Yeah, there's more to it than that.
Like, it sort of came with the fact that with Last of Us 2 came a bit of a revelation of what Neil Druckmann has been doing behind the scenes, which really, legit, retroactively revealed him to be a scumbag. And
also his attitude towards anybody who had anything even remotely negative to say about the game.
And Last of Us 2 really is that bad an experience that it can taint an entire run.
Anyway, see, before we actually get to the point that I was mentioning, since I had to voice a bit, I did check, yes, Hideo was just a producer for this tier, you're right. The directors actually were two, Yuta Hase and Mari Miyata. Anyway, hold on, this is important, because it seems that Solaris has data for all of our party members. What is this place?
This would be awkward if we haven't been using save data.
Holograms of us.
Collect them all.
Why are there holograms of us in Solaris' place?
Merchandising!
Not
Yeah.
sure if an actual figure of Elly or Citan would actually sell.
Elly, Elly
hold on,
maybe.
let's
Citan-
check them first. Something with
Actually,
Fei.
Citan myself.
Fei from Wong, if response infinite, animal alignment infinite, convince contact immediate disposal desired. Wonder what that means with contact.
Well, people want him dead, obviously.
Still, parameters that are labeled as infinite.
I carry this one.
See Ellie's.
Hold on. If response in animal alignment infinite, possible antitype, approval for retrieval and necessary analysis granted. I don't like the sound of that.
Alright, can I read the next one?
No. hold on.
No. Just let Tia read them.
Yes, again, the complete name Elahim Van Houten.
Let's see what Citan says.
No bed.
His real name, Hyuga Rikdo. It responds to under 30, animals commented 98, comments none. I wonder if someone might have tampered with this data.
Possibly, especially if his is the only one that's not put as
Yeah.
infinite. to the
Gee, I
ether
wonder
response.
who.
He removed the dislike bar on his account.
Alright, let's see Bart. Bartholomew Fatima responds to under 10, animal alignment 90. Upon dense animal retrieval, schedule for animus adjustment. Essentially,
A mutation.
They want to take his Andvari. Also, remember, he found an Omni-Gear.
We're gonna say take his underwear, and I'm like, oh god, the monsters.
I assume animus adjustment also means mutate.
Let's hear about Rico, actually. Ricardo Banderas, he responds 160, animal alignment 85. Created by the Ethos is an experimental mixture used by the Krelian Battle Association to measure battle potential. It has been transferred, scheduled for animus adjustment. Again, this far into the game, we learn a bit more about Rico. The fact that after he being estranged by the Kaiser, he was actually given to the Ethos where they did weird shit on the inventory.
By learning about it, and by learning about it, mean we read his bio.
Billy Black, he responds to under 90, animal 92. Comment schedule for animals adjustment. How crude.
Again, I'm guessing animus or judgment is mutation.
Or death, or experimentation of some kind. Well,
You know what
let's
this
check.
is,
Let's check Choo-Choo.
Sure.
Primitive animal, no response from alignment, unusable, annul and dispose. Into the trash to go.
Come on, Tia, we can't agree with the bad guys on
Let's
this
see
one,
Maria.
can we?
Maria Balthazar, your response under 70, alignment 74, comments, unusable.
Okay.
Unusable.
You're useless.
Poor Maria.
I'm more
Let's
useful
see,
than what's his name.
let's see poor Emeralda, why not?
Cheating, what are you doing? Like, geez.
Codename Emeralda, nanomachine colony, data analysis complete, annul and dispose.
Dang, literally used her and throw her away.
Remember what Krelian said, they literally had no use anymore for her.
Did you notice what Cheating was doing just now?
Ellie also did it before, and there's only one door remaining before the last bit of the dungeon, but that will have to be reserved for the next part because, again, the next part will be the one where we actually save, try at least to save our comrades. And
sounds like
something
fun.
tells me it might not be easy, so see you for that.
See ya.
See ya.
So yeah.
All right.
Man, I'm getting excited.